excited to be back in the workshop. We've just wrapped up the Optima Ultimate Street Car for 2022 and we had some pretty good results.
Yeah, look, it was fantastic, and a credit to us to enter 2 cars, finished first and second, but you know, it was actually a clean sweep of the podium.
Well, that's right. Chase with his Koi Mustang, Harrop Supercharged with a 2300, he drove the wheels off that thing, and yeah, to get 1, 2, 3 was an excellent result. And the Corvette was absolutely stand out in terms of the performance and your expert driving. So let's maybe deep dive on some of the mods that we've done to make it better from factory. So these cars from factory were the LS7, so 7 litre, 427 cubic inch dry sump. The tank's just under your hand there. The intake system though is bespoke for Harrop. It's got our Hurricane individual throttle bodies with drive-by-wire. So each throttle plate's 60 millimetres feeding each port. And Fluix is out of Germany and they've designed this airbox system specifically for the C6. Obviously beautiful piece made from carbon, and they've used CFD to optimise the airflow. We saw 700 horsepower on the engine dyno and it's making a little over 600 at the hubs. You've probably felt all of that driving it?
Yeah, well and truly. I mean, certainly in the drag, the hardest part of the drag for me was to try and stop that wheel spin and try and actually get power down, because not a lot of time to warm the tyres up, and certainly just grunt. Once it got up and going, the thing just kept absolutely like pulling right through the gears.
The torque curve's what really shines. Like, you can run a really aggressive camshaft profile with this intake manifold because you don't have the single throttle blade. It really sort of helps smooth out that mid-range. And when you look at the torque curve, which is where you're driving it, you know, from sort of 3,000 or 4,000 up through to 7, and that's really what you feel on track and on the street.
Yeah, you could definitely feel it because it's got that much grunt anyway down low. Once it start pulling through those gears, it just honestly just keeps pulling. There's no lag at all.
So it's got Cook's headers. They've had to be modified slightly for right-hand drive. Performax did the conversion, so for our American friends that see the steering wheel, it is actually on the right-hand side. The wheels, our partners and good friends at Forgeline, they're an 18-inch front and rear. It's an 18 by 11 running a 295 tyre, and the rear's 18 by 12.5 or 18 by 13, I think. So you can get a lot of tyre in the back of these. That's a 335 rear section, which is probably not dissimilar to what you had on the Monaro back in the 24-hour.
It certainly looks it, and it does need every bit of that 13 odd inches, you know, to try and get that power to the ground.
The brakes are new too, so they're a new forged monoblock caliper. How did you find those on track?
Yeah, it stops really well. Obviously still with the ABS system hooked up. You know, you just jump on the brakes and it pulls up, it retards so well. And obviously still being manual, which is a beautiful thing to be able to drive, and engine retard as well using the gearbox. But yeah, the brakes are amazing. It actually stopped really, really well.
Yeah, so we're running a race pad, but it's our 2-piece floating rotors. It's a 15-inch or a 381 front rotor and a 4-piston in the rear with a 356 millimetre rotor. The transaxle is a Tremec TR 6060, so like a modern 6-speed. But PPG provided their heavy-duty gear set, so you would have noticed first gear is actually taller. So with the autocross, you can get more top speed in first, but it's a long first, but then it's a shorter 6. You don't get that overdrive.
Yeah, never had a chance to get to 6. So it was only 5th, only for a very short time too, down the straight there at Calder. But it'd be nice to see how to actually run on a longer circuit, that's for sure.
Moving along, we've got our Velo race seats. Colin, our fabricator, has done a mega job doing the seat mounts. We've still got the slider on the driver's seat. The harnesses and the 4-point bolting cage tie in really nicely, but it's still very much a street car. It felt good to drive.
Yeah, absolutely, and well and truly needed. A seat like that hugs you, and certainly with the slider. Being an older generation car, doesn't have that telescopic steering wheel to be in a position where I like, so I just moved the seat forward, and I was happy with that driving position, and still relatively low, even though it does have the sliders on it.
So the 6-point harness worked well?
Yeah, absolutely, and well needed, because being a race driver, and I mean, you want to be strapped in so that you're driving the thing by the seat of your pants, and you can feel what the car's doing.
And we upgraded the shifter. It's got a really direct positive action.
Yeah, obviously a lot shorter than a standard car, that's for
Yeah.
sure, because, you know, knowing what these older generation cars are like, they never really were too keen on having, you know, this short shift throw and so on for the
Yep.
general gentleman driver.
And the other small little mod we did was on the pedals. We put some upgraded plates. Like I found with our red car, it was sort of difficult when you were heel and toe to sort of get across.
Still to be able to heel and toe and get the most out of that and the maximum in the retardation with the engine as well as the braking system is to actually heel and toe and match everything up really nice to be able to not have any, you know, rear end sort of compression lockups or anything.
So we didn't have any aero on the car, but you felt it's got a little ZR1 boot lip spoiler there, but the stability would definitely be improved if it had a wing.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, look, they're a big tyre, but this type of event doesn't allow for a lot of time to get heat into the tyres.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, maybe if it did have a little bit of rear stability with a wing,
Yep.
it'd want to be able to do something, not just look good.
That's right, yeah.
And that's the thing that would probably allow for a little bit more heat in the rear. But
I
other
think
than
it'd
that,
need the splitter on the front to sort of get the balance.
yeah, I mean, the thing with the front anyway was actually quite planted, and
Yep.
once there was heat in the tyres, you know, it was quite hard to actually get the thing to step out. I mean, you had to be quite aggressive on the throttle to be able to have the thing
Sure.
oversteer on you.
One of the important rules of the event is the tyres, you can't actually run a semi-slick or a true track tyre. So it's a 200 tread wear minimum, and that's where BFG have got their Rival S that we're running on this, and we actually had to put some Michelin 4S's on the GT3, but that further hampers the temperature and the grip level. But it's true street in the sense that it's a tyre you can drive in any weather.
Yeah, well and truly. I mean, we mucked around a little bit with tyre pressures. Obviously, a little bit different with the drag and so on, but with the track, you know, in order to keep right on top of things, you've really got to stay on top of the tyre pressures too to try and, you know, maximise that temperature and keep that temperature in them for that next run.
And a special credit must go to good friend Denny Pop from Raft Racing. Like, he's the Corvette guru in the US. So the chassis and suspension setup is basically his DNA. It's got JRI, coilovers, double adjustable, bigger sway bars front and rear. We've got LG billet drop spindles on all four corners. And there's still some tuning that I think, like if we had more time in the car and on a track like Phillip Island or even Winton where the change of directions, you know, frequent, I think we could sort of, you know, get the balance even more optimised.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously talking to the right guys over there. They've been doing it a long time, and there's no point trying to reinvent the wheel when these guys have great race cars over there in road cars and do very well in the events over there. So, but yeah, 100%. If you know, with the adjustable shocks, to be able to have a bit of a play around, I think there's a lot more time to be found actually in the car.
So first place, mate, you backed up the win from 2019. There was 4 key events. There was the autocross or the Motorcana, and we did the speed stop on the Saturday. And then that night we did the drag racing, the quarter miles. So we've covered off on the major upgrades, but what's your overall thoughts on the balance?
Yeah, it was enjoyable. I mean, to have something with so much horsepower again, there's only a couple of times that I was probably a little bit too aggressive on the throttle, and the thing wants to have this big bark sideways, so it really gets your attention. But the big thing is, with most of these disciplines in this type of event, it's all good having a lot of horsepower, but you've got to be able to stop it too, and that's what I was really impressed with the setup of this, is that your braking system in this, because the autocross requires a nice heavy stop to be able to do some of these 360 turns, stop into the box, the speed stop as well. That requires a lot of very aggressive braking. The main one, I believe, which is that full circuit lapping, where a lot of the time, and that's I guess where a lot of people don't understand how much time can be made up with just keeping your foot on the throttle a bit longer and then just being aggressive on the brakes to retard the car.
These new calipers, they're forged aluminium, heat treated. They're effectively a stiffer and stronger, lighter version of what we've had previously. Excited to release them pretty soon, actually. So this is one of the pre-release sets that we got onto this car, and no better test pilot than yourself to lean on them and test them. Yeah,
well, I can definitely vouch for these over obviously the Monaro. I mean, weight-wise, I'm not sure what the difference between the two, but horsepower would be quite similar.
Correct.
But the braking, I found your braking in this particular, in the Corvette, to be better than the Monaro. Let's have a bit of a chat about the Porsche, because there were 2 of us there, and you were having a drive of the Porsche. So Tell me a little bit about this.
It's our development mule, if you can call it that, for our supercharger. So we've done a TVS 1900 for the 4-litre GT3 engine. Has been an engineering feat. Clayton, our engineering manager, has done an incredible job on the packaging, and we'll show some photos of what it looks like fitted up. But I can show you the engine bay, which is obviously at the back. There's not much to see, is there?
Fortunate enough to see it at the track, and you just can't see anything. It's a hidden gem.
So our goal is to upgrade a GT3 from factory with a little bit more aero, which is not unlike the RS model. Verus have done this great wing upgrade, so it uses the factory mounts, but it's just a larger foil, and that's balanced out with the under tray that they run on the front, and the dive planes as well, the canards. The tyres, we've actually gone bigger than factory. The wheels are a 19-inch compared to a factory 20, but we go from a 305 to a 325, and on the front from a 245 to a 265. They're such an awesome car from factory. We've got Motec data logging, but we've clocked up a lot of hours and there's still work to be done. We'll do a deeper technical review of this car and the work that's gone into the supercharger in another video, but it's a pretty wild machine.
Yeah, and neat. Like, I mean, you can't see a lot of these upgrades and the amount of work that you've put into it, because it's all hidden with all the cowling and so on. So, you know, it does still look factory, and that's the good thing about that, yet a lot more horsepower.
That's really our ethos. So the whole team at Harrop do an amazing job, and all of our programs and the product development, wherever possible, we try and optimise what it's like from factory and get very, very good fitment and finish and ultimately performance as well. There's no doubt both cars are popular with their specific markets, and shows the diversity and the fun you can have by getting involved in an event like the Optima Ultimate Street Car.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it was a credit to you guys to have two cars run first and second, and I think for this event, it's a great opportunity for just anyone to be able to enter any type of car to come along and have a go at it.
Well, mate, 2023 is shaping up to be a big year. The guys have already started planning the next Australian event, and anyone that's interested should certainly register and get involved.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the past two times I've had an absolute ball. I think it's a great format, and I think it'll be massive in the years to come, that's for sure. And certainly 2023, it'll be fantastic to come back and have another crack.
And the golden tickets, so heading to SEMA later next year, and we've got the Monaro over there, so let's try and get your bum in that seat again and mix it up with the boys over there.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. I look forward to that.
Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.